Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Gerardo from ProsperityLifeBacks.com, and today we're going to talk about how to redefine your reality. It is a well-proven fact that your labels and your way of thinking create the way that you feel. Feelings, most of the time, follow thoughts, and not the other way around. So that's why it's very important that we change our thinking so that we're able to change our feeling. And a problem is like most people are like hardwired into their past thinking, their past emotions. So what ends up happening is like they're kind of reliving their old negative selves or their old kind of like thinkings and their old emotions, and those things are resurfacing all the time. For example, let's say you see a tiger and you feel scared. But how come you can't see a tiger and feel just relaxed? Because you can actually condition yourself to feel relaxed around a tiger. But why is it that we don't feel relaxed when we see a tiger? And that's because tigers are associated to be kind of like this, dangerous thing, this dangerous animal. And it can, potentially be dangerous. But you can approach a tiger just the same way as you can approach a dog. It's just that we know that tigers are potentially dangerous and dogs are potentially not. Oh fuck, I fucked. And you see, even with just that, like little contrast, that's what association is. And it's so deeply enrooted inside our like spirits, inside our psyche, inside our mind and body system, that we kind of like identify ourselves with these kind of like past selves, past thinkings, past emotions, but we're supposed to be like working past through those things. And to alter our mind and body system is like, it is very challenging, but it's something that we need to do in order to kind of tap into higher states, higher way of beings, so we can be more positive all the time. Because you can be positive more. You can be positive more often. Now, maybe not all the time, like literally all the time, but you can be positive most of the time, or more often at least. And this is by making better associations, changing the words that you use to describe events, things, objects, places, whatever. I know this sounds a little weird at first, and it's because no one really taught us how to think right, how to kind of like how to better our thinking. We kind of just do that on our own naturally. We do our own thinking naturally based on the understandings that we have by default, or the understandings that we have growing up as a kid. But the thing is that those understandings that we have as a kid is very, very, very limited. And as we grow older, we're relying on like low level of understandings. This is why reading books is so very important. So this way you can kind of borrow insight, borrow wisdom, and borrow knowledge from other people. But make no mistake, true wisdom is kind of like you experience it on your own and seeing it firsthand. That is true wisdom. That's what separates people who talk about knowledge, and they look like they have knowledge, versus wisdom. Because there's a difference between talking and actually having the experience to back up what you say. This is how you can easily like spot, like the people who speak the truth, and there's people who kind of like know how to parrot and mimic the truths. Because you can do that. You can like parrot the truths, and that's good too, because you're supposed to parrot the truth so that you understand the truths. But when you also experience these truths, that becomes so deeply integrated into your mind and consciousness that it becomes so proven. You've experienced it firsthand. You know how it is. So anyways, back to what I was saying before. It's about these words, these thoughts, Because that's what words are. Words are thoughts. Labels are thoughts and words. And when we bridge these words and make these connections into whatever it is that we're attaching it to, we form these kind of attachments and associations. Now, at first, they may be very thin. When we're adding new layers of like associations and new memories and new things, they're very thin. Okay? But as you kind of like deepen the association, they get very thicker, they get thicker, and they get thicker. This is the difference. This is the difference between negative and positive people, is that positive people, and this is like an overgeneralized statement, positive people have more thicker positivity in their lives. They have like better associations, they have better like maybe memories, they maybe think better or whatever. Negative people, their kind of positivity in their life is so thin. They may be surrounded by so many negative like atmosphere or negative circumstances, negative conditions. So that's why they're stuck in that negativity. They're literally stuck in that negativity because they don't have those kind of like positive associations, those positive connections. So in order to tap into these higher ways of beings, we need to form better associations, and we do that by thinking differently, and emotions follow thoughts. And what's good about this is that we can redefine our whole reality. The truth is that anything can mean anything. Okay? Anything literally can mean anything. Anything is like open to interpretation. Having said that, it's more ideal that we anchor things or we associate things, positively, so that we can tap into that kind of positive flow, that positive way of being. So by knowing that anything can mean anything, you can attach your own meanings or statements onto something. So for example, let's say I say that the sun increases your energy and the sun increases your confidence. Now this might not be scientifically true, but that doesn't even matter, because when you bridge that connection, when you assign the sun gives me energy, the sun gives me confidence, or the sun gives you energy, or the sun gives you confidence, that's going to sort of like be saved. Now in the beginning it might be a little weak, as I said earlier, because you still need to kind of collect that, I guess, data is the best way to say it. And you might actually need to prove it. So you might need to like go out in the sun once or twice and then say it out loud or think it, and then store that kind of like data or that memory or that reference. And what happens is you'll be able to tap into that. So when you see the sun, you feel more confident, you feel more energized, because you yourself have assigned it to you assign that statement. The sun increases my energy, the sun increases my confidence. But why is it like you can't change it to be something else? And the thing is that you can. Anything can mean anything. So you can change the sun to give you like, I don't know, to make you go sleep. You can anchor that state into that, and you can kind of condition yourself into being that way. But I think it makes more sense to kind of like associate things with kind of like with what it already is. So for example, in this case, the sun gives you energy, the sun gives you confidence. It seems like that's what the sun looks like it would do. So when you make that kind of connection, you anchor it and you make that association, it just makes sense. So it gets accepted into the subconscious mind a lot easier than if you said the sun is making me sleepy. Because what we have assigned, or what we know to make you sleepy or be in that kind of like dreamy state, is the moon. So the moon is what is associated with that kind of like dream and sleepy and that like I don't know, like that trance, like falling asleep, etc., etc. Now, mind you, all of these things could have been just like man made up, and that doesn't even matter because the law is what is believed is expressed. What we have faith in becomes true. Having said that, it makes it much easier for us to use what's already kind of established to be true. So if we say the sun gives you energy and the sun gives you confidence, we kind of know that already, or subconsciously we know that. We know that already. Or at least the people before us, they either made that connection or they made that anchor. Whichever the case, it truly doesn't even matter. Because if it's man-made, it doesn't matter because it works. If you believe it, and you really, really deeply believe it, those states and those attributes and those statements are going to be attached to the sun. The sun gives me energy, the sun makes me feel confident. And you just let that flow, you just let that sink. You don't contradict the statement. What will happen is you'll just re-enter those states, re-enter and relive those qualities. This is in fact what's like going on whenever we feel like a lot of negative emotions around certain kind of people or certain kinds of situations or circumstances. And it's that we are making these connections, or our subconscious mind is making these connections between us and what is currently happening. So, I don't know, like let's say someone you meet is just kind of rubbing you off the wrong way. And in particular, it could be because your mind and body system is associating them in a certain way based on a past reference, based on a past experience, based on like your own past thinking, your past self in general. Or even sometimes God does kind of like give you this weird intuition, this vague feeling. Sometimes they call it spirit or something. But I think most of the time it's not really that. Sometimes it's really just kind of like we have these old associations based on our past selves, based on our past experiences, based on who we have been in the past, based on how we have thought in the past. And that intuition or that feeling gets resurfaced again in the present time. So that's what happens a lot of the time when we're feeling kind of like these funny feelings, is that we are having these kind of like associations that are like just resurfacing. So for example, let's say you feel anxiety around certain people. Well, why can't you feel confident around people? Why can't you feel relaxed around people? The truth is that you can kind of swap the values. You just kind of have to know how. And it's more complicated than, just swapping the values and this and that. Way more complicated. But as you gain experiences and as your thinking changes, you'll start to notice that you can always change the associations, the words, the thoughts, and the emotions that are attached to these things and conditions. And you'll start to realize that it's truly like ourselves who are creating these barriers and obstacles that don't need to be there at all. And the thing is that it takes a while before you can kind of like, I know for me personally, it took me a long time to even get to this kind of like comfort place. But it takes a while to like really develop your thinking, to gain these experiences, to challenge your fears. And a lot of our fears are based on our past experiences, past negative associations. And the way to transcend all of that is through a change of thinking, collecting these new experiences that will change your way of being. Anyways, thank you for listening. Please stay tuned for more high quality content heading your way.